This is going to be a programming video about variables and what is a variable and why we have them and the different types of variables. Variables are a way of storing data in computers, and most programming languages like to have a type of variable. In Java, we've got several basic types. We've got one called an int, which is like an integer. We've got a char, which is a character. We have a bool, which is a true or false value. So let's do some examples of an integer. We've got 0, 1, minus 42, and like let's say 300 as well. An example of a character would be the letter A, or the exclamation mark, or I don't want to say any of the emoji or things like that because they're more complicated characters. While they probably do exist as a char, they're a more complicated style of char, so I don't want to include them. We also have the number 6 if we enter it on the keyboard. I've put it in quotation marks because I don't want it to get confused with the actual numerical value 6. Boolean, there's only two types. There's true and there's false. And there's nothing in between. It's just one to the exclusion of the other. This looks kind of like the word fake. I'm just gonna go back and false. We've also got float. And examples of floats are numbers with a decimal point. So 0.1 is an example. 3.14 is an example. And we've got, say, like minus 200.1. And we can also represent minus 200 as a float as well. Any integer can be converted to a float. If you convert a float back to an integer, you can lose the decimal point, and how that gets rounded, whether it gets rounded up or down, is largely dependent on a number of different things. So that's something to bear in mind. So we've got these four what we call primitive types. There may be other primitive types as well that I've left out. But these are the four that come to mind in Java, and also in processing. In C, we've got another kind which is called a pointer, and that literally points to an address in memory, kind of like a street address on whatever street that you're on. A pointer will just point to a place in memory, but we don't have them in Java, so I won't put them down here. We've got a few more complicated types. We've got a string. And a string is a collection of these chars. So, hello world. And this string, hello world, is kind of the classic introduction to programming string. Like, this wouldn't be an introduction to programming without it. It just seems to be some sort of tradition. Another example is how are you? And another example might be just a bunch of numbers and letters, like minus 200, true, this makes no sense, lol. If you can type it in, it's probably a string. Whereas if you're doing anything in these primitives, chances are you want to be doing calculations on a primitive, or doing some comparisons like, is this following statement true? I'm over the age of 18. And that's either going to be true or false. But that's sort of what are the basic variable types. Let's do an example of using a string, because strings are the most sort of hands-on. So void setup print line hello world. So what's going on here? The way how processing works is you have two very special functions. You've got the setup function, and this code runs one time, and you've got the loop function, and this code continues to run every single time that it just keeps running and running until you quit the program. And so hello world has executed, and then it just keeps on running. If we wanted it to quit, we can either do exit, and we can do that in the loop or in the setup. It probably makes sense to do it in the loop because hello world, and hopefully it's stopped running. I can check that. I can check that if I go to like the process monitor and see what processes are running, but that doesn't really matter. This string here, hello world, is able to be represented as a variable. So let's create So we create a string called myString. This is when we create a variable, it happens in a couple of steps. First, we have what we call the declaration, and this says that we're creating the variable called myString. It doesn't give it a value, it's creating a placeholder for it, but we're not assigning it. Then we've got myString equals hello world. So this is the declaration, and this is the definition where we define what goes into myString, and we can do it all on one line like this. We write the declaration, then we define it with the equal symbol, and then we give it the value. And doing all of the above, they're all valid, accepted ways of doing a string, of declaring a variable. However, this would be not legal. We can't do this because it's going, oh, we're declaring a string, and then the very next instruction is to declare that exact same string. That would be not a legal operation. We can't have two variables that share the same name in the same context. We can have two variables that share the same name out of the same context, but not within the same context. And that's an example called scope. That's an example of something called scope, but we'll cover that in a later video. So we've got hello world. Let's now use it. We can go print myString. Now I'm gonna do this is a string to show that there's no trickery going on. It says hello world just here, but it will soon say this is a string after hello world. And so, where is this sort of thing useful? Variables are very useful for things when we do counting, or if we want to do some simple substitution. We'll probably cover the simple substitution type string in the next video when we look at if statements and conditions, because when we have a decision, we usually want to act on that decision in a way that makes sense. So check out that video. I'll publish this video first, then publish the variables video, and then we'll probably take a look at loops, because they also cover strings. They also cover the use of variables quite well. So in the if control structure video, or the else if control structure video that I do, which I just made that video, you'll see an example of a variable called age, and I've assigned it. I've assigned it, and then we act on a decision with that. So it'll start off with a flowchart, and then dive into some code like what we did today, or like what we did just now. Thank you for watching.